Hey guys, welcome to Leadtrack. This is Leadtrack number 2. Last time we spoke about engagement versus broadcasting. Today I want to talk to you about finding your own voice. It is so important for a leader to have their voice into situations. There's a great scripture and it says in John chapter 10 verse 27, it says, "My sheep hear my voice and I know them and they follow me." I wonder if you can put that in your own context. Does your team hear your voice? Do they know you? Can they follow you? If they can know you, if they can follow you, then they can do that well. Now, there are essentially two ways that people hear your voice. First way is in absence. This is where you're not speaking into a situation. This is where you've got your back turned. You're not seeing, you're not communicating what is happening. And when you're doing that, people will fill that void with something else. They will fill that void with another voice. So what we need to do is we need to speak in action. We need to speak into the situation and clearly speak it. There are 3 ways that we speak in action. When you're with someone, so you're actually sitting in the cafe or in church and you're with somebody and you're communicating personally to them, that's being action voiced. That's actually communicating something. The second way is when you see someone in the cafe or in church before the service and they're actually sitting by themselves or standing by themselves or walking around by themselves. Take the time to get away from where you are or who you're with and get over. Take that person who you're with over to them and say, "Hi, how you going? My name is," "Oh, hi Kevin," or "Hi Philip," or "Hi Paul." And that way your voice is heard in action. My sheep hear my voice. The third way is social media. Now, social media is important for us as a church because as a generation of people, we are moving strongly into understanding social media. But each social media only has a certain lifespan or a certain shelf life. So in other words, if you post something on one type of social media, it will last longer or shorter than another. Let's have a look at a couple of those together so we can get the drift of this. The first way to look at, let me get this up and going, is Snapchat. Now when you Snapchat, you have a shelf life of maximum 10 minutes. In other words, that's how long your voice will last on there for. It won't last longer than 10 minutes on Snapchat. Whereas on Instagram, you can get up to 24 hours out of an Instagram post. So your voice lasts for 24 hours on there as a leader. On Facebook, if you're posting on Facebook, the shelf life of Facebook is around about 5 to 7 days, give or take. So if that's the case, if that is the case, if those are the shelf lives, then it's important to understand that we've got to find our voice within those contexts of social media. So in other words, if we're finding our voice within Snapchat, we should be voicing 4 or 5 times a day because they've got such a short shelf life. But if you're voicing more than 4 to 5 times a day, I know it's a funny picture, sorry, that was me just this morning. If you're voicing 4 to 5 times a day, you're probably overkilling. You're probably over-communicating. In Instagram, you should be Instagramming about once a day. If you're doing 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 images for your team to pick up, your team are going to devalue what you're placing on there. They will devalue who you are and devalue the reading of your posts and the likes. Your likes will come down. On Facebook, it's important that you do maximum 2 to 3 times a week if you're wanting to communicate with your team. That's why on the church website we will do only 2 actual posts a week because we know that we don't want to overplay a piece of medium that actually helps us communicate our voice to people. So those are the 3 social medias. It's important. My sheep hear my voice and I know them and they follow me. There are other types of mediums and messages that we communicate. Emails. Emails have a shelf life of 1 to 3 days. After that, you can basically kiss goodbye to them. If you haven't answered it within 3 days, the person's already moved on. They're probably gone to something else. If you're sending a text message, it has a shelf life of normally around about 30 minutes to an hour, depending on who you talk to, and I'll come back to that in a minute. And if you're Facebook messaging someone, that has a shelf life of around about 0 to 15 minutes max. So not a huge shelf life. Now with text messages, there are different shelf lives. If I'm sending a text message to Aileen, my wife, or that's somebody who's a partner in my world, then that shelf life of that is around about 0 to 5 minutes. In other words, I'm expecting a response in 0 to 5 minutes. But if I've got it sending a text message to a workmate, I can allow anything up to about half an hour, maybe even an hour at stretch, before I should get a response back. But for everybody else, it can be up to a day. Honestly, some people are just so slack at reading their text messages. But the shelf life of your voice in the text message only lasts that long. So how is your team hearing your voice? How often do they hear your voice? There are 4 things your team needs to hear your voice in. Number 1 is they need to hear your voice through training. They need to know that you are training them. That's how they hear your voice. The second thing is they need to know that you have value or place value in them. This is by thanking them and they're going, oh guys, really thank you for all you do. And I hear that a lot on a Sunday and that's amazing to hear as your pastor. The third area is to encourage them. This is where you actually not just thanking them, but you actually say, hey guys, you did a fantastic job. I love the way you specifically handled that situation or that person. You're giving your voice to build them up. And the fourth way to bring your voice in is to share a little bit of your life. How much of your life are you sharing with them? Now, public speaking, that's for those who give communion, that's for those who share in a connect group, that's for those who preach, that's for those who take up tithes and offerings, or worship lead, or a backup singer. There are 3 things. Number 1, don't trail your voice. What that means is, I'm going to give you a demonstration by saying don't trail your voice. Don't trail your voice means don't trail your voice and let your voice drop off. Let it fall off. Don't trail your voice. That's falling it off. People don't actually pick it up. Don't run your voice in. In other words, don't do this. Don't run your voice in. So in other words, don't lift it up. Speak strongly and maintain eye contact. Important that you understand what you're saying. In the middle of your presentations, it's okay to have pauses. It's okay to have silence. In the middle of your presentation, a moment's silence, 1 to 3 seconds, is golden. A 10-second silence, that's dangerous because they've already started to fill that with something else. A 20-second silence is deadly. Don't go there. But if you are handing the leadership over to someone, say for instance in church on a Sunday 2 worship leaders are swapping, or in a connect group 2 people are swapping doing things, the distance, the amount of silence you're allowed diminishes greatly. You can't have any silence. In other words, 1 to 5 seconds is deadly. Absolutely deadly if you're handballing your leadership from one person to another. You've got to speak straight away. Don't think that everybody else will handle this. No, you jump in. Anything over 10 seconds, you're dead in the water, you're gone. It's all over and done with. I want to share with you a graph, whatever you want to call it, about the understanding of how your voice works. So I'm going to draw a little column down here and across here. And I'm going to label this column over here, preparation. Everybody needs to prepare for the presentation of their voice. But the second part of the presentation of your voice is what is commonly called confidence. These 2 things have the greatest impact on your voice. If we just put a scale on here of 0 to 10, 5 being you're on track, you've got enough preparation, you can do a great little presentation, and 10 being fantastic, full. 0 means you haven't done anything, you're going to wing it. That's terrible. But if we did the same thing with confidence and go 0 to 10 on there and put 5 on there, and then we draw some just dotted line down there to create 4 zones. The impact of your voice looks like this. Let me demonstrate by drawing a curve on here. This is the impact of your voice. So the impact of your voice. Now, if we were to look at each of these zones here, and it's important to look at it, If you've done heaps and heaps of presentation, but your confidence is up the creek without a paddle, you don't have a lot of confidence, then you are going to be boring people. This is the boring zone. This is when you know it's like there's no charismatic, there's no sort of stories in there. It's just so much presentation. You feel like I'm just, I'm going to sleep. It's absolutely terrible. Don't go there. This is low confidence, low preparation, or even high preparation. It's just boring, 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 boring. But even worse than boring is when you've got almost zero preparation and zero confidence. This, for a leader, is a no-go zone. Do not go here. Please at least bore people. Please at least bore people. If you bore people, then you're better off not going to the no-go zone. Thirdly, the area where we've got lots of confidence but little preparation, this is what I call the wing it zone. This is where you can wing it. You get great communicators, you can tell stories, you're able to grab the audience that's in front of them. This is the wing it zone. And finally, this area up here has two zones. It has the zone above the line and the zone below the line. The zone below the line is what I like to call the I'm listening zone. The I'm listening zone. This is where the confidence is good, the preparation is good, but it's not perfect. So they're great at telling stories because they've got confidence, and the people will listen, but they won't necessarily follow because they don't have everything about them. But if you want your best zone out, the best zone for you to be in, this is what I call the I'm following zone. And you can see how small it is. This is what, because the confidence level needs to be high enough to match the high preparation zone. You've got to have it up into this zone. In other words, you've got to have your preparation as good as your confidence, and then people will follow you. Leadtrack. Find your voice. So for homework over this next couple of weeks, I really appreciate those. There were a couple who didn't. I'm still waiting on them. I want you to write down 3 things that you can tell me how people are hearing your voice. And tell me how you're going with those. So just give them a scale of 1 to 10. And there's no right or wrong. So 3 things how your team is hearing your voice. Great talking to you today. There is one more thing I want to talk to you about, and it's not about Leadtrack. It's about Dream Builders. In June, we have our common building fund, our building fund that we run every year. It's often called Rise and Build. This year, we're naming it Dream Builders. Building the dream. And we've got 4 weeks of preparation for this. I'm speaking on tithes and offerings at the end of May. Paul Pike's speaking on building the house. Dan Parrish is speaking on bringing the first fruits in. And then we're taking up the offering towards the end of June, called Dream Builders. Let's dream big for 2016 and beyond. Hey, love you heaps. Thanks for all you do in the life of the church. Look forward to seeing your responses via email. God bless you for now.